I'm sure we've all heard of Sprint in Halo by now. It comes up all the time among the Halo community because honestly, it's a really big deal. But I think it's about time I put an end to this whole Sprint debate argument. The reason I say this is because I believe I have a unique perspective along with research and analysis as to why Sprint is a horrible mechanic and needs to be excluded from future Halo titles entirely. Sprint does not belong in Halo simply because Sprint is not a Halo mechanic. Yes, I know, it sounds funny, but when you understand the true origins of a true Halo game, you will know exactly what I mean and you will know exactly where I'm coming from. Now, this concept of a true Halo game, in fact, is not known by many, so I think it's a good idea that you understand how Bungie actually designed Halo to be played in the first place. Let's start by defining Halo. How is Halo made? Well, we all know that Bungie created the Halo series, but again, many do not know the secret gameplay formula that the first 3 Halo games were solely built upon. According to Lars Bacon, Bungie multiplayer designer for Halo, the golden key components that Halo is built upon consist of weapons, melee, and grenade. That's it. Bungie themselves call it the golden 3 things that make a Halo game, with the former Halo community calling it the golden Halo triangle. The idea is that these 3 mechanics synergize and work together with symmetry. Nothing should prevent players from performing these 3 mechanics. That's it. What I'm going to tell you next is really easy to understand, so pay attention closely. Sprint obliterates this concept of the golden Halo triangle entirely. It's impossible. It can't happen. You cannot have a true Halo game when Sprint becomes involved because Sprint alters the melee, weapons, and grenade aspect of Halo. Think about it logically for a moment. When I am sprinting, how do I make use of the 3 golden components of Halo? When I sprint, I can't use my weapon. When I sprint, I can't melee. And when I sprint, I can't make use of grenades. Sprint literally locks you out of the 3 golden things that make Halo Halo just for a significant speed boost. This is problematic because in my opinion, quite frankly, it's an identity crisis. You are not actually playing Halo the way it was originally intended to be played, and with that, every Halo that 343 creates destroys the concept of the golden Halo triangle. You see, adding Sprint and all this unnecessary bullshit to Halo makes it less Halo because Halo was actually designed to be bare bones. Halo is about starting out as equals. As Spartans, when we enter the multiplayer arena, you and I are equals. We have access to the same weapons. Our melee and grenades are all the same. We all move at the same movement speed. Throw Sprint into the mix, then you have some Spartans running really, really fast, and then you have other Spartans moving very slow while shooting. In a sense, it actually creates 2 different styles of gameplay, and a YouTuber by the name of Favin painted a picture of this idea very well. Movement is supposed to be one and the same in Halo, but with Halo 5, you have the running around part, then the shooting around part. This creates inconsistencies in scenarios that involve who sees who first. Oh, you're sprinting and I'm not. I could put the first shot on you and clearly I have the advantage, while the only way you were shooting me is by putting your gun down. Let me again elaborate by saying this is not the way Halo is meant to be played. I literally gave you information and research directly from the horse's mouth, Bungie themselves, Lars Bacon, the actual multiplayer designer for every Bungie Halo. So I think the people who actually defend Sprint will find this argument very hard to counter. Now, of course, Bungie did in fact create Halo Reach, which also tampered with the golden Halo triangle, but it's important to note that this was one of their last Halo games, along with the fact that Bungie themselves even admit to breaking the golden Halo triangle in Halo 2, which leads me to my next point of discussion. To further prove my argument that Sprint doesn't belong in Halo, I wanted to briefly discuss dual wielding. Now, you might be wondering, how in the world does dual wielding have anything to do with Sprint? So let's watch this short clip for clarification.
Whatever weapon that you start off every round with is going to really affect the decisions you make.
There's this thing we didn't really identify in Halo 2, that if you spawn everybody with a dual-wieldable weapon like the SMG, it changed the game. People stop meleeing and people stop grenading because when you're dual wielding you can't do either of those.
Now, as you just seen, Bungie software design engineer Adrian Paris talked about how dual wielding affected the golden Halo triangle and how that mechanic influenced them to make the assault rifle a default weapon in Halo 3. They found out that people had less initiative to use their melee and use their grenades in multiplayer because of the dual wielding mechanic. And if you think about what they are actually saying, it really makes sense. If you spawn everyone with a dual wieldable weapon, it changes the game because when you are dual wielding, you are potentially locked out of throwing grenades or meleeing. I literally just talked about this. Doesn't Sprint do the same exact damn thing? If you spawn everyone with Sprint, it changes the game because when you are sprinting, you are potentially locked out of throwing grenades or meleeing. Just like dual wielding, Sprint also prevents you from meleeing and using your grenades, and even changes things further by locking you out of shooting just for a significant speed boost. To those of you so adamant about the idea that Sprint doesn't change gameplay, oh it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, this literally destroys your stance. A Bungie employee admits that dual wielding changed the game, and by drawing parallels we conclude that Sprint also also does the same damn thing. Another point I wanted to make out of that is that if a mechanic such as dual-wielding was nerfed and removed due to it changing Halo, then why are we letting a mechanic like sprint get away with the same damn thing? Bungie made the assault rifle the default weapon in Halo 3 because the dual-wieldable SMG tampered with the golden Halo triangle. We could even speculate that dual-wielding was removed completely for this reason in Halo Reach and beyond, but regardless, the point still stands. Just like dual-wielding, sprint changes the way Halo is meant to be played. The only difference between the two mechanics is that one is completely gone and the other is still prevalent in Halo. After going over what really qualifies as a true Halo game, we could even take this new acquired knowledge to another level to counter arguments to defend sprint. Well, old Halo is too slow. Alright, you might think, quote-unquote, old Halo is too slow, but just like we went over, that's the way Halo was intended to be played. It doesn't matter what you think. Well, I like Halo better without sprint. That's completely fine, but just know that the Halo you enjoy really isn't a true Halo game. And honestly, if you think about it for a moment, Halo doesn't even need sprint, because Halo already had ways of creating a fast-paced environment within its unique sandbox. In original Halo, the arena maps are rather small to compensate for the slow movement speed. Think about maps like Midship in Halo 2 or Halo 3. As soon as I spawn, I can see and shoot the other players in the arena. That's how small these maps were. Maps like Guardian, Lockout, Epitaph, Pit Stop, Citadel all feature fast and frenetic action because they are small. This shows that just because there isn't sprint doesn't mean there isn't any action. Sprint is not the only thing that speeds up gameplay. Even in the bigger maps, there were actually ways to get where you needed to be without sprint. Man Cannon was just one of those ways to get where you needed to be without sprint. Valhalla in Halo 3 serves as a perfect example. Each base features a set of lifts that boost players in a certain direction. How about Avalanche, Narrows, the list goes on. These are literally specific ways of why sprint is not needed in Halo. It's too much. Because again, Halo already had its own unique ways of creating a fast-paced environment through its unique sandbox. Halo didn't need sprint because there were other props and map dynamics to help compensate for the slower movement speed. Even teleporters contribute to unique map flow. Maps like Coagulation, Terminal, Cold Storage, and Beaver Creek all use teleporters to compensate for movement speed. Vehicles also played a huge role in moving players, for instance, the Mongoose. On the map Valhalla, there are actually two Mongooses on each side of the bases the player can use to get themselves to the action quicker. But even the small to medium-sized maps featured vehicles. The Mongoose is on Isolation, High Ground, Ghost Town, Orbital, Last Resort, and even the Ghost on Snowbound. Sprint is not necessary when the Halo sandbox already has unique elements that get players to where they need to be fast. Does Call of Duty feature teleporters, man cannons, or vehicles? No, because players don't need those things to get there where they're going. They already have sprint. Additionally, this also builds upon the identity crisis that Halo is currently going through, and I just thought about this, but does Halo 5 even feature teleporters in its sandbox, man cannons, or vehicles? Out of all the real maps in Halo 5, not counting the Forge maps, none of them have teleporters, none of the maps have vehicles, and only one of the maps use man cannons, because just like Call of Duty, Halo 5 lets you sprint, making the other map dynamics useless. Man cannons, teleporters, and vehicles are the three props that Halo used to speed up its gameplay, not sprint. It doesn't need sprint. But now that you actually understand how original Halo games were made, I urge you to rethink your stance on sprint if you defend it. The sprint mechanic tampers with the weapons, melee, and grenade philosophy that made Halo successful in the first place. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. Would you rather have Halo that breaks the golden Halo triangle, the same Halo that sold the least amount of copies of any other Halo game, the same Halo game that struggles to even break the top 10 most played games on Xbox Live, and the same Halo game that has been forgotten among social media? Or would you rather have original Halo, the Halo that actually stuck with the golden Halo triangle, the same Halo that actually meant something to the gaming community, the Halo that sold 13 million plus copies and maintained massive multiplayer populations at every time of the day, the Halo that inspired other genres of games to innovate and expand beyond the competition? There is a huge portion of the Halo community that is eagerly waiting to get a taste of that classic Halo once again, and I think removing sprint will be the first among many steps that will push us in that positive direction. As I wrap up this video, I'd like to thank you guys as always for watching. I really appreciate your support. As always, leave a like, share, comment your thoughts, concerns on the video. My last video actually reached about 100 likes, and the one before that even reached 250 likes. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for the continued support. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Every like, every view helps spread the message and lets me know that I'm putting up interesting content that you guys enjoy. Lastly, feel free to subscribe to Weapons Grade for more content about the future of Halo and gaming in general. Peace.
The assault rifle works really well with the golden three things of Halo, which are weapons, grenades, and melee.
One of the things that we talked about in pre-production was player movement, and that's where the man cannon came from. There's different ways to move the player around the map.
In Halo 1 and Halo 2, we had these teleporters. Although it was a great way to get around quickly, it didn't provide as much inherent danger as the man cannon does.
Eventually